Hey there, this is Chelsea with Let's Talk. Today, let's break down connecting words of cause and effect. We'll use this connecting words to connect two ideas and show the relationship between the two, how they connect. With cause and effect words, this tells us that one thing caused the other one to happen. So let's start with two sentences, two separate events. I didn't take the final exam. And second event, I failed the class. So one of these events led to the other event. In this case, it's pretty clear that our first event caused our second event to happen. So let's talk about how we can connect these ideas together. First up is the word because. Because is what we call a subordinating conjunction. We've talked about subordinating conjunctions before, so if you want more details, you can go and look at one of those videos. But for now, what you need to know is that subordinating conjunctions introduce subordinate clauses. A subordinate clause is less important than our main independent clause. So in this example, we would say, I failed the class because I didn't take the final exam. So because is our subordinating conjunction here, and I didn't take the final exam, altogether that's our subordinate clause. So the subordinate clause can't exist on its own. I cannot just have a sentence that says because and a subject and a verb. It has to be connected to our main clause. But the main clause is independent. I failed the class, period. That sentence is just fine. But when you start with because, it has to be connected to the main idea. With subordinating conjunctions, we can also reverse the clauses. So my because, my subordinate clause can go at the beginning. Because I didn't take the final exam, I failed the class. So our subordinate clause went to the beginning, our main clause went to the end, and there's one difference. We added a comma. If the subordinate clause comes at the beginning of the sentence, you need a comma at the end of it. When the main clause is first, you don't need a comma. So because is followed by a clause. So we have a subject and a verb. I didn't take. We also have the option of because of. Because of has to be followed by a noun or a noun phrase. So it can be a couple words that all describe the same noun. But it can't be a clause. No subjects and verbs. So I could say, I failed the class because of my final exam. Period. Because of is connecting these two ideas, but my final exam, no verbs here, all right? Just a noun phrase, my final exam. So some students want to say, I failed the class because of I didn't take the final exam, and that's no good. Or they'll say, I failed the class because my final exam. That's no good. With because, you need a subject and a verb. So they're used to express similar ideas, but they have different constructions. So keep that in mind. Because of can also go at the beginning of the sentence. Because of my final exam, I failed the class. So again, when we put because of at the beginning of a sentence, we also need to add a comma, like our subordinating conjunction. All right, next we want to talk about is so. You guys are already familiar with so. We've talked about it in a previous video. It's what we call a coordinating conjunction. Because was a subordinating conjunction, so is a coordinating conjunction. So with coordinating conjunctions, we are connecting two equal ideas, two ideas that are equally important. So the word co, the prefix co, means together. So the conjunction connects two ideas together. But the prefix sub, as in subordinating, sub means under. So that subordinating conjunction means the one clause is under or less important than the other one. So we've talked about and, but, for, and so previously. Those are all coordinating conjunctions. So we can only use these in the middle of a sentence between two ideas. So I can say, I didn't take the final exam, so I failed the class. So is our coordinating conjunction. It connects these two ideas. It's in the middle of a sentence. It cannot go at the beginning. I can't just say, so I failed the class, period. Of course, in more casual spoken English, that happens a lot, but in our more formal, proper rules of English, we cannot begin a sentence with so. Same with and, or, but, or for. So that's a really common mistake. We cannot put so at the beginning of a sentence. We also can't switch around the different ideas here. I can't say, so I failed the class, I didn't take the final exam. It doesn't work. Okay, last connecting words are therefore and thus. Therefore and thus are what we call conjunctive adverbs. And they're used in different ways from our coordinating conjunctions and our subordinating conjunctions. So therefore and thus, they can be used pretty much the same way, but they connect two sentences, two complete ideas, and we're showing the relationship between them. There's two ways we can do that. The most common would be, I didn't take the final. Therefore, I failed the class. So, pay attention here. Two separate sentences. Therefore is at the beginning of the second sentence, and it's followed by a comma. This is going to be the most common way you see conjunctive adverbs. There is another option, it's just a little less common. You could say, I didn't take the final. I'll use thus this time, but the same as therefore. Thus, I failed the class. So with this one, we've connected the two sentences with a semicolon. Then we still have our conjunctive adverb. It's still followed by a comma, but this is all one big sentence now instead of two separate sentences. So you can go either way. The first one's just much more common. But these cannot come after a comma like we had with so. It's not going to work that way, all right? It has to start this whole new sentence or be right after a semicolon. So all the words we've talked about today show cause and effect, but they're all used in different ways. So you have to be careful that you're following the correct rules for each one. In the comments, can you tell me why are you watching this video? Try to use some connecting words of cause and effect. This is Chelsea reminding you it's not nerdy being wordy. Let's talk again soon.